Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to be reviewing a television show, South Korean television show called Two Worlds. Okay. Now, currently, this TV show is not available on most platforms. It's actually available, I think, exclusively on a platform called Drama Fever, which is an app available through Roku. Yeah, so if you're trying to look for this show, I would recommend just subscribing to Drama Fever and watching it. And I understand some people, they're like, listen, I don't want to keep dishing out money to watch, you know, shows on several different platforms. But as someone who has made movies before, went to film school, worked in a movie theater, and have, I would encourage you guys to really just pull the money out of your pocket. There's certain movies and shows that are really worth investing in, or platforms that are really worth investing in, and without investing in them, they can't continue. So really consider that. But anyways, back to the show. Really quick, if I were to give a synopsis of the show in a nutshell, it's about two twin brothers. One is named Kim Woo Jin, and the other one is named Gyum. I don't remember his full name exactly, but the film, or excuse me, the TV show takes place in two periods of time, and in two different how would I say this? Two different worlds, you can say. In 2017 is the present day story arc that we're first introduced to. Now, each episode, except for the last episode, has two parts to it. It has part one, which deals with our present day, and part two, which deals with the future. And the first 30 minutes will always deal with the present, and the last 30 minutes will always deal with the future. That's the template that the show goes by. Now, some people may find that annoying, but actually, I thought it was actually, when I got used to it, it was actually pretty cool. So, to give the story in a nutshell, Gyum and Woojin are two twin brothers. Their dad is some type of scientist. They encounter an alien when they were very young. The alien transforms into this young woman who they call Buell. Buell gets taken in by their family. They start taking care of her, and but eventually, Buell and the twins' father disappear. And the story fast forwards to when they're teenagers, or I would guess you would say maybe 17 or 18 years old. And Guillaume has, in those past years, since the father and Buell disappeared, he's been going through a lot of psychological issues. You know, he struggles with a lot of things, which I'm not going to go into. Woo Jin has gotten over it. He's made peace with the fact that his father abandoned them, and he's going on. But Guillaume can't get over it, and Guillaume is. We later find out he's investigating, trying to find out where is their dad and what happened and who took him, and he has theories about aliens and all this stuff. And when you're first introduced to him, you start thinking, man, this kid has lost his mind. But eventually what happens in the story is, I'm not going to give really any spoilers, but Guillaume goes missing. And for most of the story that takes place in 2017, Wu Jinia is looking for Guillaume, and he's trying to find out what happened to his brother. And it's a very interesting, in my opinion, mystery, and everyone is seeing everything from Woo Jinny's eyes, and we're trying to understand what happened, what was going on. You know, why did his father disappear? And another thing, this is not to spoil too much, but a person from their past reappears in the story, which leads to a whole nother mystery of trying to figure out. Now, the second half of the show deals with the future, which is a world in which this organization called Human Bee has created these chips, and these chips have the ability to suppress people's emotions, and similar to the movie Equilibrium. But then also they have the ability to remove bad memories from people. Any traumatic memories that the person has had, it has the ability to remove those bad memories. And now we're in the year 2037, which is basically 20 years in the future, and we meet a police officer. We're not sure who he is at first, and this police officer suspects that human B, which has this microchip that they insert in certain people who lived in a certain dome, as it were, or a certain area called Smart Earth. And the only way you can live in this particular area is if you have a smart chip. And he basically is trying to investigate them and expose them for who they really are, because he suspects that they're evil. Something else that we discover is that Smart Earth has never had a crime before in all of its existence. The one of the catalysts that leads into the second half of the story is that a crime is committed in Smart Earth where there's never been a crime. And so that's one of the mysteries of the second half of the show. So, having said all that, what do I think of the show as a story, and overall and everything? I really like the show, man. I really enjoyed the show. I was looking for a good show to watch for a little while because I was getting jaded by a lot of the TV shows that were coming out. But this is a really cool sci-fi show that deserves to be watched. The last good show I watched, which happens also to be from South Korea, was a TV show called Tunnel, which is, if you haven't seen Tunnel, I recommend you watch it. It's a really good South Korean show. It's also available on Drama Fever. I loved the main two characters, the twins. They both had something really good to give. I love the character arc of both brothers, and you just gotta watch it. You really have to watch it. It is worth watching. For those of you who aren't familiar with South Korean storytelling, you may not appreciate certain things, but I've been watching South Korean films since 2010, and the more I watch them, the more I'm convinced that they have a really good way of telling stories. One last thing I forgot to mention earlier was this show deals with a philosophical question that I think is very powerful. And the philosophical question it deals with is, if one had the ability to remove bad memories or bad emotions, we had that power, ability as a society, should we do that? Should we take that? This story presents both sides of that question very well, and I honestly think this was actually one of the most intriguing things about the show, was the idea of this philosophical idea of whether or not, if we had the power, should we remove good or bad memories? Bad memories. Some quick little tidbits of issues that I did have with the show. There's a particular character in the show, the police officer, and he's a really cool character. He's a really cool, likable character. But there are several times within this whole show where he has the power to stop a bad guy and shoot and kill them, and he doesn't. I know that they're doing that because they don't want the character he's opposing to die, because he's necessary for the story. But it takes you out of the story when you're dealing with a character who you know is willing to kill but doesn't kill, when anyone in their right mind in his situation would kill. And that's one of those things that kind of bothered me about that. But yeah. Second thing that bothered me about it, but it's not a big issue because I'm assuming by the way that they ended this show, they're intending to go into a season 2. But there were a couple of questions that were very key that were left unanswered. But I'm assuming they did this because they intend to go into a season 2. But having said that, overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I give the show a 7.5. I really actually enjoyed the show a lot. And I recommend, if you're wondering whether this show is worth your time, watch it. Just watch it. It's a really cool show, very creative, different, and it's definitely worth a watch. All right? Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe.